Good morning, everyone, and thank you all so much for joining us. I apologize for starting a few minutes late, but Councilman Owen and I just left 500 of our closest friends at the grand opening of the Goodwill Opportunity Center, which was an amazing celebration of, yes. That was the result of the hard work of the private sector, the nonprofit sector, and Louisville Metro government with Metro Council, with our administration. Together, we passed a budget that had a $5 million investment in that amazing facility that's going to serve people not just in West Louisville, but across this entire community. And it's just a great catalyst for what is now starting to happen far, far, far too late in West Louisville. A catalyst for new opportunities that are just now starting to be seen. People will finally start believing when they see. And they're seeing great projects like that come to fruition, the Norton Hospital right behind it, and many others that have been announced or are getting ready to. And one of the things that Goodwill helps and will help on from their Opportunity Center is helping people find homes, find affordable housing. And that's what we're all here to talk about today. Because affordable housing is a top priority of mine, it's a top priority of our administration, it's a top priority of the folks that are here with me today, and I know it's a top priority of yours and many other across our entire city. And that's because safe, quality, affordable housing is the foundation for families. It's the foundation for everything else that we do in life. A foundation that so many of us take for granted, but far too many of us cannot afford. Today, we have new information to share with the community about the ongoing work that we're doing to make sure that everyone in Louisville has a stable, healthy, and affordable place to call home. And when I talk about housing that's affordable, what that means to me is that no one, absolutely no one, should have to pay more than 30% of their income towards their housing expenses each month. That applies to everyone in our city. For far too long, far too many people have had to pay more than that. In some cases, so much more, just to have a place to live. And that's simply unacceptable. Louisville Metro government is working with partners throughout the city and beyond to make changes that will allow more Louisvillians to have a safe place to call home. And an essential part of that work is figuring out what our needs in our city are. And so that's why every 5 years, Metro government and the Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund have released the Housing Needs Assessment. It's an in-depth report on the state of housing and availability and affordability in our city. It provides important information and data and analysis about our city with respect to housing, the trends that we're seeing, and what our most urgent priorities are. The last edition came out in 2019, so it's time for us to do one again, and today we are releasing the 2024 edition. There are many details in the report which will be fully available online, but here are some of the key takeaways. The good news is there are signs of progress that we're seeing, and that's encouraging. But we still have a long, long way to go because the demand for affordable housing is growing so rapidly. For example, the percentage of people in Louisville who are spending 30% or more on their income went down. It went down from 29% to 25%. So that's good. But we need much, much more progress. Having 1/4 of our population spending that much on their housing is simply unacceptable. So we have to build on the progress that we're making and bring that percentage down much further. We also saw a significant increase in the number of housing units that are affordable for our lowest income residents, an increase of more than 18,000 housing units available to people at the lowest income levels. That increase is due to a combination of factors, including some new construction, as well as existing housing and apartments that are now priced such that they're affordable. Again, that increase is great news. The challenge is that the demand is even greater. One important housing metric is the level of unmet need for affordable housing. And in the last 5 years, even as more homes have become affordable that we just discussed, the unmet need has grown. It was 31,000, now it's up to 36,000 units of affordable housing needed for the lowest income Louisvillians. We need to help build more housing, to address that need. Housing is such a critical factor in so many ways, including for our economy, because we want the people who work for our businesses in every job, at every income level, to be able to afford a safe, stable home for them and their families. The new housing needs assessment makes it clear that we have to move with an even greater urgency than we've been talking about to provide more affordable housing for folks in Louisville. And that's why I'm so pleased to announce that today we're also releasing something else. We're releasing the final version of the My Louisville Home Housing Strategy. A few months ago in October, we released the draft of this plan, which we developed with input from folks like Christy McGravy of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund, who you'll hear from in a moment, as well as public input and folks across the entire city. Since we released this draft in October, we've taken a lot of public comment, and we've listened, and we've learned, and we've updated the plan accordingly. And we're going to hear from one of our partners who provided some of that input today. The heart of the My Louisville Home Plan is the same as we released in October. It's an ambitious, first-of-its-kind strategy to create and preserve 15,000 units of affordable housing all across our city. As part of that, we're working to make our Affordable Housing Trust Fund a permanent revolving loan fund. We're working with the state legislature and Metro Council on necessary updates to state laws and local zoning ordinances. On the state side, those conversations have been good. And whatever the results of this session, our conversations will continue, even if there's not immediate progress now. And I think that there's real optimism, real cause for optimism as we move into the future to get support from the state for our affordable housing needs here in Louisville. As I announced yesterday, our Office of Planning took another step in the right direction in its land development code reform efforts. Following 2 years of research and community conversations, the Office of Planning released new draft regulations that would allow small-scale multifamily housing, commonly known as middle housing, to be constructed on properties that are currently zoned for single-family homes. This is not, yes. Now, this is not talking about building new 200-unit buildings on single-family home lots or 5-story buildings on single-family home lots, although we need those too. But when we talk about middle housing, we're talking about duplexes, triplexes, fourplexes, townhomes, cottage courts. We're talking about new types of single-family housing that people are looking for. These are the exact same types of housing that you already find in many of Louisville's older neighborhoods, in some of Louisville's most vibrant, historic neighborhoods, where people from all different income levels, where families of all types live together in vibrant, thriving neighborhoods. We want to give those opportunities to our entire city, because everyone in Louisville needs a place to live, and our city needs more people to live, more places for them to live. And so we all need to continue to work together to make sure that there is affordable housing in every neighborhood in Louisville, not just in other people's neighborhoods. That's right. Every neighborhood in Louisville needs affordable housing. So let's continue to seize this momentum, and let's continue to work to make that happen. Let's be bold. Let's think big. Let's move fast, and let's work together to make the progress that we need for the people of Louisville. We are going to make this happen. So now I want you to hear from some of the partners in all of this work. First, someone who I've already mentioned, a great partner to me, to our administration, to the entire city, someone who dedicates their life to helping build more affordable housing units across our entire city, and that is Christy McGravy, the Executive Director of the Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund. Christy? There you are.
So good morning. As he said, I'm Christy McGravy, and I am the Executive Director of the Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund. And on behalf of the staff, Board of Directors, and stakeholders of the Trust Fund, thank you for coming out this morning to better understand the housing needs of our community. We know that today's report takes a deep dive into the housing climate of our community, the good, the bad, and the ugly. After years of delay in funding quality, affordable housing for vulnerable families, coupled with all of the negatives resulting from the pandemic, all of this has us playing catch up in providing the types of housing our friends and family need. The good news is that we can celebrate some successes. The investments made into the trust fund, among others, have resulted in the allocation of more than 5,600 units of housing. Yes, 5,600. Of which, and this is the good part, nearly are actually, coupled with others, more than 1,000 are dedicated for households at 30% AMI or less. So that's where success. So what does that mean? A family of 4 living on less than $30,000 a year can have hope. Our city's investments, along with just being aware of the problem, are the reasons some of the data has improved. We must always remember the people, real men, women, boys, and girls. They are at the end of these numbers, and they need us to do more. We owe them the opportunity to have affordable housing choice across our entire community. Why? Because every area of our community has jobs that pay less than a living wage. So we need housing to fit their budgets too. I saw a quote on social media the other day that said something like, the fact that we even have a category for people called the working poor explains a lot. So yes, we have more work to do, but I am thankful that we have made some progress. We now know what to do, how to do it, and we welcome new ideas and partners who are willing to get the work done. We need more programs like Revert, which you're going to hear a little bit about later, which assist those whose families achieve affordable. We need more programs like Revert, which assist those families whose families have achieved affordable home ownership, even though their past families were impacted by redlining practices. We need flexibility in zoning to allow missing middle and other housing models to move forward with fewer hurdles and full community support. So as I conclude, think about this. Did you know that it takes about 7 to 8 months to build a house? And it takes an average of 2 years or more to build a large multifamily complex. So given that it takes developers years to envision a project, secure funding, site control, overcome community and other obstacles, and then put a shovel in the ground, the findings of this report are not a surprise. We must always remember that there are real people behind every number, and each one of them deserves a safe, decent, affordable place to live.
I think part of this, doing this work right, means listening to people who've experienced our community's needs for a more affordable housing firsthand. Their perspective is incredibly important, and I appreciate and respect folks like our next speaker who are willing to share their stories. I'm going to introduce to you Hope Turner. Hope is a single mom and a former Family Scholar House resident. She was able to access Louisville Metro's down payment assistance program, the Housing Authority's Section 8 homeownership program, and the trust fund's Revert program that you just heard Christy talk about to purchase a home in the Park Duval neighborhood where she now lives with her children. Hope is a wonderful living example of how, when programs are put in place, we can truly help families thrive and have the foundation to pursue their hopes and dreams. Please join me in welcoming Hope Turner.
Hi, everyone. 2019, I went through a really bad time in my life. I went through a bad separation from my ex-husband and a bad separation. When he walked out, basically it was my kids. I had a 2-year-old at the time and a 3-year-old. I was left with a mattress on the floor and a kitchen table. So I had a job, and before I got married, I was always on my own, so it was easier. But when I had kids, it was a different ballgame. I had to take care of my kids. No, by any means, I had to take care of my kids. It was my main focus. So I had ended up going to a shelter with my kids because I couldn't afford the apartment that I was in. I was working at the school board. I wasn't making a whole lot. I was paying $620 a month for daycare, and I still had to provide for food and everything else for my kids. So I ended up going to a shelter, and I probably was there, I don't know, maybe like 4 or 5 months. And I remember my pastor calling me, and she was like, Hope, somebody wants you to call them. And so I called the number. I didn't know why I was calling, and I called, and I thank God. I had got the resilience program through Metro. They told me to bring IDs, birth certificates. Like I said, I still didn't know I was going to. When I got there, it was a folder on the table, and it was a voucher for me to get a place for my kids. And I was so blessed and so honored because I didn't know what I was going to do with my kids. You know, my mom died when I was 15. I lost my dad in 2014. So it was very hard for me because I didn't have nobody but my kids. And I wasn't going to let my kids go to no system, nothing. I was going to make sure that I took care of my children. And that's exactly what I did. So I got into the resilience program. I found the apartment. And they paid my rent for the first 6 months. And after that, it got deducted by $50 every month. So by the time that year was up, COVID hit. And we had got a couple stimulus checks. I was able to take them checks, fix my credit, and save up money to pay up bills and put money up aside for like a rainy day. After I got out of that program, I got accepted to the Family Scholar House. I was there for 3 years. Last year, I graduated with my associate degree in medical assistant. And then after that, I applied for the homeownership program through Section 8. I was blessed I got approved for that. And after that, I was able to buy my home December 23rd last year. Not only that, I also got approved for the Revert program, and I got approved for down payment assistance. Down payment assistance assisted me with $18,500, and it was such a blessing. I was able to buy me a house for me and my children. They have their own rooms, so it was just a blessing. I stand here today because not only that, I'm a survivor of domestic violence. So not only losing my parents, I was a single mom, and I didn't know A to Z, like I said, when he walked out. So I'm very blessed and honored for all the programs that I use. I use them as a stepping stone to better myself because I wanted better for my kids. I wanted to have generational wealth for my children. So when they get older and they go through some situations I might go, they got a house they can always go home to. They ain't got to worry about going to a shelter. They ain't got to worry about, oh, I don't know where I'm going to live. I'm 44, and I'm so blessed to be a homeowner. And I grew up in the West End and be a homeowner in the West End where I grew up at. So I'm just so blessed and so honored, and I appreciate all of y'all.
That's what it's all about. We often are talking about numbers, but as Christy was saying, and as you just heard from Hope, it's not about numbers. It's about people. It's about helping people like Hope and her family, and that's why we can and we must do more. I also mentioned earlier that we got a lot of comments from out in the community after we released the first draft of the My Louisville Home Plan in October. And our next speaker is part of that group that we heard from through that process. She helped us incorporate co-housing into the final version of the My Louisville Home Plan. So please help me welcome Matilda Berthe. She's co-housing architectural designer at Studio Cohab. Matilda, please join us.
Thanks. So as you just heard, my name is Mathilde Burt, and I'm the co-founder of Studio Cohab, which is an architecture firm specialized in co-housing. And with the support of the nonprofit Matilde Age and housing consultant Donna Reinhardt, I've been helping a group of citizens get organized to create their co-housing community here in Louisville. Co-housing is an intentional, collaborative neighborhood where people know and care for each other. It combines the autonomy of compact private homes with the benefit of shared, spacious common amenities. The common house is the heart of the community. It typically includes a large dining room, a kitchen, kids' playroom, guest rooms, and gardens. The future residents are integral to the design and development of the community. Co-housing neighborhoods tend to offer a sustainable and pedestrian-oriented design. The group Louisville Co-housing wants to create a 25 to 35 units intergenerational co-housing community. Mattingly Edge has been helping them with their efforts and wants to own a couple of units to serve adults with disabilities. Because the development process does not alone generate below-market house pricing, we are excited to be exploring ways to partner with the City of Louisville to make this co-housing project financially accessible to a diverse group of Louisvillians. When we heard about the My Louisville Home Plan, we organized a grassroots effort to engage with the city. We recognize the initiative's unique potential to enhance housing affordability in Louisville, including by supporting community-based housing. We are pleased to find an enthusiastic partner in Marilyn Harris, who invited us to share how co-housing has been an important and successful piece of the housing strategy in other cities. Embracing this strategy, the city incorporated co-housing into the My Louisville Home Plan. We are thrilled that we, as a group of citizens, had the opportunity to help the city craft a robust and effective plan, and we are equally excited to continue to partner with them through the implementation process. On April 9th at 6 p.m. in the main public library, we are hosting a public presentation to explain what co-housing is and invite anyone interested in joining the forming community. Come learn more about co-housing, invite all your friends and family to our presentation on the 9th, and let's get it built. You can also reach out to us by sending an email to louisvillecoho@gmail.com or by following us on social media at Louisville Cohousing. One more time, it's on April 9th at 6 p.m. in the main public library. See you there. Thank you.
We cannot do this alone. We need the help of the entire community, many of which you are here today. We need our focus from our administration, and we also need the support of our friends on Metro Council, who has supported affordable housing over the past year through investments, record investments, in the Louisville Affordable Housing Trust Fund, and also with respect to zoning issues, whether individual projects or approach to zoning overall. And that's why I'm so excited that just recently, Metro Council President Marcus Winkler announced the new Ad Hoc Land Use Committee. This is a committee that is just getting started and is going to be looking at our approach to land use over the entire city. And I believe, as you'll hear in a moment, they're going to be focused on this same issue of housing, and in particular, affordable housing. So next, I'd like to introduce another champion for affordable housing across our city, and that is Councilman Andrew Owen, who chairs the Ad Hoc Land Use Committee of Metro Council. Councilman Owen?
So some of you may not know that in another lifetime, after taking a quick detour through Capitol Hill, my first job out of college was working for an affordable housing developer. And I continued partnering with nonprofit organizations and helping build affordable housing in communities all across the country. And so because of that background, I think the mayor and President Winkler thought that I would be a good fit to chair the Ad Hoc Land Use Committee, and I'm really excited about the opportunities that we have. So the way I see our committee is that this housing needs assessment is our charge. How do we make changes to our land development code, regulations, that sort of thing, to make sure that as a community we can fill the gap of the deficit of affordable housing that we have in this community. It's as simple as that. The other thing I would say is there are other examples of communities around the country that have these same issues. So one of the things that we will be doing in our committee is learning from other cities, finding out what they're doing right, things that have worked for them or maybe didn't work for them, so we won't make the same mistakes. But I really do think it's an opportunity for us to really, between the mayor's office and the council, I think we finally have two groups that are focused on making sure that we get this done. And I think that has not always been the case. So I think it's an exciting time. But I think together with the mayor's office, with the committee, with my chairperson, Councilwoman Batshon, that we can make some changes, focus on 2 or 3 things: inclusionary zoning potentially, which is exciting; middle housing, which is really exciting; and a couple of other small changes, streamlining the process where we can try to help fill this deficit of affordable housing. So I'm excited to get started, and thank you, Mayor.
Hope's story is so inspiring, and there's so many touch points in my life that I've seen. I've been homeless in Louisville 2 times, in the early 2000s and 2002. In 2014, when I left Miami, Florida, left my husband, came back here because my father was dying. Many people come back home, or many people move because of family needs. And when I came back, I found myself homeless again. I was embarrassed. I sat on boards and on commissions with people who own their homes, and I was the poorest person there. But what I represented is what many Louisvillians represent. Every other Louisvillian you meet might have had a similar story or a different story that got them here. Tomorrow, I head to D.C. for unhoused convening. Next month, I head before the Supreme Court on a case that is dealing with our unhoused community. Homelessness is one of the primary struggles in our community, and it is broad and far-reaching. While homelessness has varied causes and can look different for different people, the main cause is poverty. That is my story as Executive Director of Vocal Kentucky and now newly elected Louisville Metro Councilwoman for District 3. Homelessness is often caused by compounding of problems like poverty and drug use and/or mental health issues. We have a crisis all over our nation, all over our state, and all over our city. I know because my direct lived experience and because I have family members with mental illness who are chronically housing insecure. Our housing plan must meet the needs of all people, including those battling chronic poverty, those experiencing substance use disorder, those with disabilities, and those who've recently been released from incarceration. All these people, all of our neighbors, cousins, friends, peers, teachers, mentors, and so many others need housing to ensure the safety and the stability in their life. A rising tide lifts all boats, so broad systemic solutions not only help people impacted by poverty, but the whole community. We want to emphasize that providing quality, stable housing is the first step to addressing poverty, substance use disorder, mental illness, and so much more. We know housing first approach works. We see it work. We see it with Hope. We see it with myself. But because our neighbors, co-workers, community leaders, and service providers have experienced a myriad of issues and continue to experience the success of Housing First, we know that we need to work together. I am honored to be able to work with the mayor and the administration to do that.
I also just want a quick recognition. I think she had to leave, but I wanted to give a shout out to our amazing new director of Louisville Metro Housing Authority. Oh, there she is back there, Elizabeth Strojan, who has gotten right to work, who is dealing with a lot of challenges. We will be candid and transparent about that at Louisville Metro Housing Authority with both the Section 8 program, as she just talked about yesterday, and also with some of our aging existing housing stock. We have an amazing new leader of that organization who is committed to ensuring that every resident of LMHA has quality, safe, affordable housing in all of our projects, and that we improve the current conditions and that we find ways to build new and improved units for our residents who live in LMHA units and who are getting vouchers through the Section 8 program. Thank you, Elizabeth, for coming back home to Louisville. We look forward to working with you. We look forward to working with everyone here today. We need a lot of partners. This is an ambitious, big, bold strategy. We want to build 15,000 new units of affordable housing in the coming years. And even when we do that, there will still be more to do. So we've got to take every day, we have to make progress, and together, by building more affordable housing across our entire city, we will make Louisville a safer, stronger, and healthier community. Thank you guys very much.